It matters what you feed your mind. Your body and your spirit must be aligned. This is how you make it to your prime. And don't forget faith in the Most High. Check. If money's your motivation, you won't make it. Your expectations should be greater than paper with dead faces. You want greatness? It takes dedication, hard work, and patience. Your purpose must outweigh your love for money and placement. See, money is a defense that you can use for protection. Help others and be a blessing. Love people over possessions. Cause money is the root of all evil. So don't love it and use it as you need to.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Meal Change Podcast. This is episode number 54. Hopefully, you guys are doing good and amazing. Like every week, I say I'm doing amazing because I'm living. And so there's never no complaints from me. I'm the host, Devin Holly. I've been with you guys for 54 episodes. So, as we roll on to our conquest to do 100 episodes of this podcast, it's really amazing that I get the opportunity to speak with you guys, interact with you guys, and let you guys know, some of the tips and some of the things that I've had to work on as a man to get better. And hopefully it can help you, if this is your first episode, this is the Meal Change Podcast, also known as the Millennial Change Podcast. And we help millennial men build a better mindset because as of right now, we're the ones that need the most help. So if you guys are new to this or new to this podcast, we welcome you with open arms. We don't judge, and it's an honor to just to be around you guys and to hear from you guys and the feedback and the things that you guys have provided us. If you get an opportunity, visit the website, millchange.com. That's MILL change.com. We have articles, we have upcoming seminars, we have networking events coming up real soon, so that way you guys can connect with us and connect with other people that's doing, I guess you can call it the self-help thing or the self-improvement thing. And people, and we got to share information. It's very important that we share information with each other and we can hear from other people and hear different perspectives, because that we can grow that way. And if you don't want to grow or you don't want to share the information that you guys have or some of the things that you experience, it's okay. No one's judging you. No one's going to say something to you or anything like that. So don't feel any type of way that you guys haven't contributed anything of value yet, because sometimes it takes us as men a little bit longer to understand our value and to understand the things that we should be doing with our lives. All right, so this week, so last week we talked about dating. We had a guest and everything like that. But this week we want to get back on track in terms of what should we be doing as men to really push us forward, to make us take the next step in our lives and help us really obtain the things that we want to obtain. One of the things that I've talked about this briefly before in an episode, but I want to get a little bit deeper into this episode in terms of trying to focus on multiple things or trying to focus on one thing. Now, everyone hears the saying that the jack of all trades is not a master of anything. But it's also, if you read the whole statement, is the jack of all trades is not a master of one, and he can't beat a person that masters one thing, but he's better than a person that only masters one thing, because if that one thing is taken away from that person and you only master one thing in your life, then the jack of all trade is able to move around you and maneuver around you and able to achieve a lot more than you, because your only focus is that one thing. Now, I actually have that tattooed on my arm. I got a long sleeve on today, but I'll take a picture of it and if you guys want to see it. But I have the jack of all trades tattooed on my arm. And at the time when I got the tattoo, I was thinking like, that's kind of me. At that time in my life, when I was in my 20s and I was in college and stuff like that, there were so many things that I wanted to do and I didn't focus on one thing. But I realized as I'm getting older and as I'm starting to grow, you kind of do have to master one thing if you want to grow. All right, so but for some people, for myself, being a jack of all trades worked out pretty good. And then also only focusing on one thing worked out pretty good, because I've achieved success with both avenues of focusing on one thing and focusing on multiple things. Because if you ask me, especially if you're a student and you're going to school, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades, because you have what you want to focus on, what you want to do, and then you have your obligations with school and the papers they want you to write and the homework they want you to do, and that's a whole nother animal. So in school, you have to be a jack of all trades, but as you get older, you probably want to only focus on what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And that's one of the things that I think is very, very important as a man. You have to look at, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve long term? So like every week, we're back to our old way of doing things, where we're going to talk about the problems and then we're going to work through the solutions. So let's talk about some of the disadvantages you have if you try to focus on multiple things at once. To start off, when you're focusing on multiple things at once, the process becomes longer in terms of achievement. When you have so many projects going on at once, let's say on a small level, you have 3 projects going on at once that you're trying to do, or you're trying to open up 3 businesses at once. Well, if those businesses are need-based businesses, you probably will have some type of success in terms of your goals, your ambitions, and what you want to do, because those things fit a need for your customers. So let's say if you had a cleaning business, or let's say you had a car wash and you also did carpentry, 3 C's. All 3 of those businesses have the opportunity to be successful in their own right, because all 3 of those businesses are needed. But the problem is in the process of you trying to grow those businesses and scale those businesses, you can't really grow them as fast as you could if you only focus on one. So if you just took your cleaning business and said, I'm going to focus on growing my customer base with the cleaning business, I'm going to focus on advertising, focus on bringing in new people, good employees, what type of chemicals am I using? Can I use better chemicals to grow the business? Well, you'll get much further in the process when you have your focus on one. But you have to decide as a man, and remember, our episode is geared towards men, so we love women and everything like that, but as men, we need to get better, and then we can focus on women. But as a man, if you can focus on one thing and mastering that one thing, it opens up so many doors for you to do other things. So it really depends on you as a man of understanding what works for you. Now, for me, what works for me now compared to in the past, I could do the jack of all trades thing. I could have multiple projects getting done, because at the time I didn't have any children. I had more time on my hands. I didn't have any other obligations but those projects. As you get older, your obligations for different things that's outside of your control grows. So you can't just be like, well, I'll have 3 projects going. You can only probably really put everything into one project. So sometimes if you are a person that's in their 30s with 3 or 4 different projects, the process will be a lot harder, because you got so much going on. You got so much going on outside of what you really are trying to achieve. So it really depends. To me, it's a disadvantage to have multiple projects going on at once, or multiple businesses being started at once, because you can't give your attention to everything. There's only so many hours in the day. You're gonna have to sleep. You're gonna have to eat. So I think that it's very important that you understand you and identify what works for you. I was listening to Evan Carmichael, who said that when you're trying to do everything at once, the results of you getting burnt out is much, much higher. And in terms of you seeing some type of progress, you're going to be without a large amount of progress and a large amount of success, because you're trying to do everything, at once. So you're trying 3 or 4 different projects at once, and that might not work for you. Now, some people it works for them. Some people it works out. For me, now that I'm older, it does not work out for me. So it's something to think about. Another disadvantage you might have is it stops your ability to become super skillful in one thing. You know, being a jack of all trades is amazing, but you only have a little bit of skills in each particular thing. You don't have your master's card. You have like kind of your intermediate card. I think, is that the right word? Intermediate? Yeah. You only have that card because you haven't mastered anything yet. So now, like I said before, it depends on what stage you are at in your life, because sometimes it's okay to be a jack of all trades if you're still trying to figure out what do you want to focus on. See, me, I didn't know what I truly want to focus on when I was doing the jack of all trades thing. There were so many things that I did well and that I like, and come to find out, sometimes the things that you like isn't always the best things for you long term. And the decision-making process becomes kind of crazy when you have 3 projects going on at once, because you got every single project is going to require you to make some type of sacrifice, some type of decision-making thing where, okay, well, do I put it in this location or that location? Do I do it exclusively online? There's so many questions you have to answer just for one project. Now you multiply that by 3. Bro, you will get burnt out, like he said, because it's just too much. You need some type of focus, you know, in terms of in your life. Now, I think that, well, since we talked a little bit about the disadvantages of having multiple projects going on, let's talk about the disadvantages of having one project going on. Well, one of the biggest disadvantages that you might run into when you only have one project going on is, what if you don't receive the type of success that you're looking for from that project? What if that project deep down isn't the one for you, or that business isn't the one for you? There's no such thing as failure, but there is a certain thing we call lessons. So if you had an idea of starting a business that did something, right? Let's say it provided some type of service, and your idea was to only have 4 clients. Then long term, what will end up happening is, once you start hitting your peak in terms of success, you'll have 40 clients. And what's the thing that people always say in terms of when you're real successful at one thing they focus on? I never envisioned that I'll have this many clients. I never envisioned that my project would do this. I never envisioned that I would have this type of growth. It's just the way it is. It's really just it's the way it is in life. You can't get around it. So that's some of the disadvantages you might run into if you only focus on one project, is just small stuff, mental stuff. And that's why we want to help you guys with this podcast. We want to help you focus on the mental game. That's the game you got to really, really fight at. You got to focus on the mental game. It's a fight. It's an everyday grind and a fight. No matter if you focus on one thing compared to multiple things, it's going to be a grind. All right? So think about that. And so I might as well talk about the advantages now. You know, we talked a little bit about the disadvantages. Let's just break the ice and go straight to the advantages now, because we could talk about the disadvantages all day long. There's a million disadvantages to both particular things of focusing on one project compared to focusing on multiple projects. Let's talk about the advantages. We'll start with multiple projects. If you had multiple things that you focused on, you can see yourself being successful at every single project. It's amazing. It's one of the most amazing things in the world. And school is one of those things that you can see where you focused on multiple different classes, and then you got an A or a B in all those classes. Those are projects. Those are focuses. I mean, each individual class gives you the opportunity to focus on one particular thing or another particular thing. And then once that thing starts to blossom, you're like, man, I got all A's, or I got A's and B's, I got a 3.0. Or I started, like I was saying earlier, I started this cleaning business. The cleaning business helped me open up to a detailing business. So I was just washing the cars at first. Now I'm detailing and washing the cars, doing the inside. So you went from one focus that opened up to two focuses. So one of the great things you can have is when you are a jack of all trades, and when you are focusing on multiple things, is you give yourself the opportunity of growing faster, to tell you the truth. Because you can get one thing going, but also have this other thing that you might be focusing on. Scale the one thing that you've started focusing on and say, I'm not gonna stop doing it, but maybe I'm only gonna cut it back to 2 days out of the week compared to 4, and the other 2 days out of the week someone else does it for me. And by the way, I'm investing in this or that. You know, that's a dope thing you can only do if you got multiple projects going on. And remember, you only live once. So one of the great advantages that people just don't talk about when you have multiple projects going on or multiple focuses is your success feels so much greater because you're achieving so much more than a person that's only achieving at one thing. Think about that. Some of the advantages of focusing on one thing, or mastering one thing, as people would say, is you have a skill set that not everyone could match. You have a work ethic at that particular project that not everyone could match your work ethic at that. So people always use the example of Michael Jordan. Not everyone could probably outwork Michael Jordan on the basketball court. Not everyone could do the things that he's done. 6-0 in the finals. We always use him and Tiger Woods, and especially as people of color, because those are some of the people that we look up to. But it's like not every, president could be Barack Obama. The first black president, the first man to achieve this. That was his only focus, is to become president. He's no longer a senator. He's no longer a day-to-day politician, but he's mastered being president. He was a president for 8 years, and he can honestly say he mastered that. And that's amazing that you can do something and you become a master at something that not everyone could do what you did also. So both of them have their little intricate things where not everyone could be a jack of all trades and be good at so many things. Some people are just good at one particular thing. I had a buddy that was, we would always play video games, and like I would beat him at 2 or 3 video games, and then he would have this one game called Fight Night. For some of you guys that do play video games, Fight Night back in the day, that this guy was a master at it. Just destroyed me every time. Fight Night is actually a boxing game too. Destroyed me, bro. Every single game. Not a chance. Land a couple punches. Boom, boom, boom. Bust me up combination. My guy's down. So in terms of, like I said to you guys earlier, what works for me didn't work for him. He was more of a person that mastered one thing. I was more of a person that focused on a couple things and got a lot of things done from that. And to wrap up this episode, guys, you have to understand, listen, out of anything, if you start off just focusing on one thing, it'll blossom into other things. Especially right now in today's day and age of the internet, there's so many things that's going to be pulling at your attention in terms of your mindset. And don't let money be the thing that drives you, because there's so many scams out there. There's so many ways to make money. Like, you got all these things talking about day trading, podcasting, Bitcoin, real estate, nursing, Forex. All these things are dope. All these things are avenues for you to make money and for you to provide for your family. But you need to focus on one of those things in terms of mastering it before you move on to something else. The more you put all your eggs all over the place, it never works out for you. If you get to my age, once you get to my age, focus on one thing. So once you get in your late 30s, focus on one thing. While you're young, just try it all. Try everything. Try every avenue. Try Bitcoin. Try podcasting. Try nursing. Try being a doctor. Try being a lawyer. Because you're young, you don't have a lot of obligations. You have so many options. As you get older, the person that says he has a ton of options really don't have any options. It's almost like kind of like what we talked about last week with dating, where you think as a man you have all these options because you might be knocking all these chicks off, but in terms of really keeping these females, you have none. And the same goes for a woman. The woman that says, I got all these options, I got 10 or 12 dudes just looking to be in a relationship with me, that's untrue. No woman has 10 to 12 men that's gonna want to be in a relationship with her long term if she's not in a relationship now, because there's some type of flaw in her that's not going to allow her to keep that man long term. And the same goes for men. There's some type of flaw in you that's not going to allow you to keep a woman long term. So you think you have options with everything as you get older, but actually your options are limited as you get older because you have so many obligations. But for you guys that's young guys, try everything. Be a jack of all trades because you're young. It really is, the world is your oyster when you're young. When you don't have any kids, you don't have anything going on. Even if you do have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something like that, when you're young, my biggest suggestion would be is to try as much as you can. If you're older, you're starting to get in your 30s to late 30s, early 40s, 50s, you need to start mastering one thing. It's just the way to go. You don't have the time frame that a young person has. You just have to make sure that, because your obligations is higher than that person, so you have to focus in when you're younger, and you got to focus on mastering when you're older. All right, so when you're younger, focus in multiple things. Older, focus in one thing. All right, and so guys, if you get the opportunity, share this podcast with as many people as you can. We're on our 54th episode. We're growing every day. We're trying to make sure that you guys have some type of thing that's going to help you in the future, because these episodes will last forever, but every single generation of men after us millennial men are really going to be molded by what we decide to do as men, because we're the ones that's having the kids. We're the ones that's setting the tone for this next century to come, because we're the first generation of the internet. So always remember that as a man. You are a leader right now. You're the leader of the future generation of men, because we're the first generation of the internet. So what we're doing right now is going to set the tone for the next century of men. So by you being a shitty father or a shitty man, guess what? There'll be generations of men right after you that's going to be shitty fathers, and it's going to get bad for us, to tell you the truth. So always remember that. Set the tone as a man. Build the world that you want. I say it every week. You can build the world that you want, but always remember that. Don't just think about yourself in this process of you becoming a better man. You really are going to set the tone for your sons and for your nephews and for your grandkids after you. You set the tone. Remember that. All right, guys, I'll be back with you guys tomorrow for a new episode. This is the Mill Change Podcast, also known as the Millennial Change Podcast. Much love and respect. If you get the opportunity, visit the website, millchange.com, and leave some feedback, man. Much love, and I'll see you guys. Deuces.
It matters what you feed your mind. Your body and your spirit must be aligned. This is how you make it to your prime. And don't forget faith in the Most High. Check. If money's your motivation, you won't make it. Your expectations should be greater than paper with dead faces. You want greatness? It takes dedication, hard work, and patience. Your purpose must outweigh your love for money and placement. See, money is a defense that you can use for protection. Help others and be a blessing. Love people over possessions. Cause money is the root of all evil. So don't love it and use it as you need to.